Now for more is Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt, who does plan to vote yes for Pete Hegseth tonight. Senator, it is great to see you. Glad I could make you laugh. Take us through where things stand right now on Pete Hegseth.
Well, before we do, that was a great intro and great commentary. I spent a lot of time with President Trump on the campaign trail, and just listening to that, the McDonald's thing and all this, there's a vibe shift, and there's a cultural shift that's happening that's much bigger than one election cycle, too. And President Trump, it's the greatest political comeback in American history. And so anyway, I think that sort of segueing to your question then, he deserves to have a team around him that are the disruptors. This election cycle in many ways was disruptors versus establishment, or reformers versus the old guard. And Pete Hegseth's one of those guys. I intend to vote yes. I think they're the votes to get him confirmed. And we're going to plow through these confirmations through the weekend. The Democrats are, trying to put some procedural hurdles in our way. That's their prerogative. We can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. But either way, President Trump's going to get his team in place, and we're going to move as quickly as we possibly can.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I don't know how much you heard, but every time the American public gets it wrong, and they don't do that deliberately. We saw it with Herbert Hoover. We saw it with Joe Biden. We saw it with Jimmy Carter. After that, they get it really right in the form of FDR and Ronald Reagan, and now Donald Trump. And it's only been 4.5 days, and I can feel it as well. Just quickly on the names, right now it sounds like it's Collins, Murkowski, McConnell, which means that J.D. Vance would be the deciding vote on Hegseth. Anyone else that you're hearing that might vote against him?
No, not that I am, and no one certainly publicly said that. And we had that procedural vote yesterday to get us to this final vote, which will take place, later this evening. But no, I haven't heard any names pop up. I think we're in pretty good shape. And I think that also all the nominees, Kristi Noem is next. Bessent would be after that. You got Duffy after that. We're going to vote Pam Bondi out next week. Kash Patel is going to be in the Judiciary Committee that I'm on later. Next week. So we're going to keep rolling here and get his team in place.
Yeah, keep an eye on Senator Fetterman, Democrat out of Pennsylvania. I think he might surprise some people with some of his votes. Senator, just like renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, I don't think the media or Democrats think Donald Trump is serious when he talks about taking back the Panama Canal, which right now is being overrun by the Chinese. Can you describe what's going on down there?
Yeah, so I filed a resolution yesterday, basically for the Senate to vote on, to say that the Panamanians need to expel all these Chinese companies and the Chinese interests they have that control the Panama Canal. Look, this gets back to an age-old doctrine. You talked about getting back to our roots, the Monroe Doctrine about the Western Hemisphere and the the United States of America being able to move ships from here to there. That's why we built the Panama Canal at the beginning of the 20th century. And in the disastrous deal in the late 1970s to give it to Panama for $1, the one condition there was that it would remain neutral. You can't say that right now. The Panama Canal is part of China's One Belt, One Road initiative, where they finance and they're buying ports, they're building airports, and you know what they do in these airports and across the world? If you criticize the CCP, all of a sudden you don't have flights anymore. They'll turn infrastructure on, they'll turn it off. We simply cannot have that at the Panama Canal because our Navy goes through there. This is a real national security risk. President Trump's right to bring it up. He's right to speak on it, and I think the Senate should speak on it too.
Yeah, and we built it, led by another great Republican president, Teddy Roosevelt, turn of the century. There are rumors right now, Senator, that Democrats in Washington have brought in psychologists to help them cope with Donald Trump living right down the street again. Is that true?
I saw the report today. It's well sourced. Nothing surprises me anymore. Trump derangement syndrome is real, and I guess now they've brought in people to help treat it. It's totally insane, but that's where we're at. But the good news is the American people saw right through all this stuff,
right?
And I think the fever broke, but maybe not for the Democrats in Washington.
Oh, my goodness gracious. A question about DEI. So major executive order on Monday by the president getting rid of DEI in the federal government. How do you think the private sector reacts?
Well, they ought to pay attention. I think they have serious legal liability if they don't. The fact is, DEI is rooted in cultural Marxism. It's poison. It divides the room by race. and quite frankly can promote discrimination based on race, which is illegal in this country. And so I think the left really pushed this. They pushed it in our classrooms with critical race theory. They pushed it in our military. One of the reasons Pete Hegseth and I, or one of the conversations we had early on, Pete Hegseth and I, was rooting out DEI in the military. We need to do that. It's sort of was what they were really pushing the last 4 years. But again, I think the fever broke on that. President Trump's getting it out of not just these positions, but there is a deeper ideology. It's in these slide decks and these presentations, and I think it all needs to come out. It's anti-American, it's anti-merit, and I'm glad it's getting the attention it's getting now, and people have seen through this, which is basically it's just discriminatory.
Okay, you are a United States Senator. You're a lot more privy to this kind of stuff than we are. Have you heard anything about these rumors that Barack Obama and Jennifer Aniston are having an affair?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay,
I've been locked in the Capitol here voting on cabinet nominees.
Senator, hold on. I want to get to the palace. Let me play you a soundbite. Jennifer Aniston was asked this question on a late-night program recently. Take a look.
This is a magazine that came out a couple of weeks ago. In touch said the truth about Jen and Barack.
Of all the calls you get from your publicist where you're just like, oh, no, what's it going to be? Or the email saying, you know, some cheesy tabloid is going to make up a story, and then it's that.
Yeah. Does your publicist ever go like, is there any truth to this? Or is it...
No, that is absolutely untrue. I know Michelle more than him.
What is there a truth about you and Michelle that we should know?
That is not true.
Okay, there is video of Barack Obama dining alone in D.C. last night. He went to the inauguration alone. He went to Jimmy Carter, a Democrat's funeral, alone. They haven't been seen together publicly in quite a while. What's going on with those crazy kids?
I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit out of my wheelhouse on this one.
Okay.
Although I will say that maybe is the funniest Jimmy Kimmel's been in a decade. At least we have that.
The first time he's made me laugh, Senator, in a long time.
Right.
But yeah, this is an interesting story.
Make comedy. Maybe that's another thing. Trump's bringing back comedy. We can all laugh again. Maybe these comedians will get off their political tirades and try to make people laugh again. That'd be nice.
Maca, right? M-A-C-A. Great to see you, Senator. Have a good weekend. We'll be watching the votes tonight and throughout the weekend. Eric Schmitt, thank you.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right.